In part 2 of our seminar, we're going to start here by solving an inequality, a parabolic inequality. We're going to use desmos this time. The first thing I notice on example 3, I've got the parabola on the right side of the inequality. I think it's a lot easier if you set it up so it's on the left side. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 1. I want that to be greater than or equal to 0. It's the same inequality, I just flipped the sides. Since I flipped the sides, I had to flip the signs. So now, let's graph this in desmos. So we're going to say negative 2x squared, what was it, plus 6x? Minus 6x plus 1. Minus 6x plus 1. I want that to be greater than or equal to 0. So I want this part of the graph that's above the y-axis, or the x-axis, above the x-axis. So negative 3.158 to positive 0.158. So notice, since it's greater than or equal to, I'm going to use brackets on this one because it'll include that one. So I'm going to go from negative 3.16 to positive 0.16. And there is our graph. And you could maybe estimate that on your assignment since you did your work on desmos to show me that you've got it done. Let's take a look at example 4. Example 4 says this is the height of the ball above the ground after it's thrown upwards at 40 feet per second can be modeled by this function. H of x equals 40x minus 16x squared, where the height h of x is given in feet and the time x is in seconds. At what time in its flight is the ball within 15 feet of the ground? In other words, I'm going to say my parabola 40x minus 16x squared has to be less than or equal to 15 because I want it to be less than or equal to 15. Now I'm going to rewrite that so my leading coefficient is x squared comes first. So I'm going to say negative 16x squared plus 40x. I also want it to be equal to 0, or not equal to, but less than or equal to 0. Because when it's graphing, it makes it, to graph the related functions, we want it to be 0. So move the 15 to the other side. So minus 15 is less than or equal to 0. So now let's graph that. So we're going to go new graph. We'll go negative 16x squared plus 40x minus 15, and I want to know when it's less than 0. So it'll be the part of the inequality that's below the x-axis, because at anything above the x-axis, that would be more than 15 feet in the air. So I'm going to go from 0 to 0.5 seconds, about. In union with, come on, where'd my graph go? There we go. From 2 seconds and beyond. Well, to infinity. Well, infinity doesn't make a lot of sense in this problem, but until it hits the ground again. So it hit the ground at negative 15 because that's what we had. So after about 2.5 seconds, it's going to be in the ground. Now, how do you solve an inequality algebraically. That's what we're going to take a look at in example 5. We're going to use something called the sign test. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it 0 first. So we're going to say x squared plus x minus 2 is less than or equal to 0. Now we'll factor that. So that'll be x plus 2 and x minus 1. So in other words, our x-intercepts are at negative 2 and 1. So now we're going to set up our sign test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make charts. I'm going to make a chart here. Since I wrote my x-intercepts in increasing order, I'm going to go from negative infinity to negative 2. I'm going to go from negative 2 to positive 1. That's the next interval. And then 1 to positive infinity. Now, let's see which part of these are true and false. Since I'm going to pick the middle part. I'm going to go from negative 2 to 1. X equals 0 is a good number to pick in there. So, because that's in between there. So when I have 0 plus 0, I get negative 2 is less than or equal to 0. That's true, isn't it? Now let's pick a number less than negative 2. Oh, let's go negative 3. That seems like a good one to pick. So negative 3 squared plus negative 3 minus 2. That'll be 9 minus 3 minus 2. That'll be 6 minus 2, which is 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 0? No, it's not. So this is false. Let's pick a number bigger than 1. I like 2. So we'll do the same thing. 2 squared plus 2 minus 2. That's 4 plus 2 minus 2. That's 6 minus 2, which is 4. Less than or equal to 0. That's false. The only part that's true is from negative 2 to 1. So x equals negative 2 to positive 1. When you make a sign chart like this, it usually goes false, true, false, true, false, true, all the way on. Every other interval, provided you do the intervals correctly, if one is false, the next one's going to be true. If one is true, the next one's going to be false. So I could have stopped after my true if I would have known that rule. But I just wanted to show you that they were false. So that's all we had to do there.